most of the people who talk about digital transformation really are talking about marketing transformation. But what's happening is much deeper than that. So what I'm going to do is kind of lay the groundwork at a very high level of what we're seeing. I'm not going to take you into machine learning, all those other things that we're seeing that are going to transform. But we'll deal with things at a high level. So just a couple things. You guys are probably familiar with some of these statistics, but in the not too distant future, like 4 years from now, basically internet subscribers are going to equal almost 60% of our population. Mobile subscribers will exceed the population of the Earth. And the Internet of Things, the intelligent devices that we connect to and work with, whether they're sitting on our arms or they're in our cars or in our homes, will basically reach 50 billion devices. So, a lot of technology, but the fundamental shifts that's going to create are just mind-blowing. So we have all these technologies that are sitting there on top of this huge thing called the Internet. And any one of those can be a powerful change agent. You can just think about what social media has done to marketing, or marketing automation has done to marketing. Powerful change agents in and of themselves. When you start to couple these technologies together, what they start to form is digital ecosystems. So if you think about what Apple did with the music world, think about what's going to happen as the smart home emerges. Think about what's going to happen as smart factories and smart cities emerge. Telematics and the transportation systems. All of these are starting to change, and we kind of think of that, well, what does that mean to what does Uber mean to the cab driver? And we've heard a lot about that. But what you haven't heard is the insurance industry is scrambling now to figure out what happens when ownership of those vehicles transfers from private individuals right to the companies that are making these vehicles. So these kind of deep economic level transitions and transformations are happening throughout multiple industries. The good news is there's a lot of opportunity there. So we talk about the digitally transformed future. When is it going to arrive? So this is from the World Economic Forum. And I won't go through all of this, but they're basically saying, what is our world going to look like in 2025? So how many people, 10% of the people will be wearing clothes that are connected to the internet. It's kind of weird to think about, but it's going to happen. Driverless cars will be equal to 10% of the vehicles that are driving. The last one is the first AI machine will sit as a corporate board of director, or a corporate board of director member.
That's not happening now already?
It is. Okay. They just don't tell us about that. Okay. So these things are going to cause fundamental shifts, and are causing fundamental shifts in our world. And I love this William Gibson quote, "The future is here, it's just not evenly distributed." So all those things we just talked about, those are already in our world. We see them daily doing what we do in the Silicon Valley Innovation Center. The composite of all of that is it's changing what we value as a society. And in addition to that, we now have a group of people coming in that are becoming a mainstream consumer now, the millennials, who are born digital. My girls think about technology, 17 and 15, very differently than we did growing up. And so their values, what they value in a culture, is shifting as well. So what we're seeing happen at major scales in industries is we're going from a product-based economy, right, to an outcome and resource-optimized based economy. So simple things that we're probably, let me back up a second. So as we make those shifts from a product-based economy to kind of a services outcome and outcome and services-based economy, those things are reshaping the value chains in our industry. So you guys are probably all familiar with Michael Porter and his work. So what happens as these changes come about is they start to shift how jobs are done. They'll eliminate some jobs, create new jobs. They'll eliminate major players in an industry and bring in new ones. So shifting the entire value chain. And so if you think about, let's take a simple example of Kodak. They could have put all the digital transformation in the world around their marketing, and if and kept focusing on film, they still would have died, right? Because we didn't value those products anymore. So you guys are familiar with some of these, like Uber is changing values and changing not just the cab industry, but the whole automotive market. Right here in San Francisco, Airbnb, changing a lot of things. Who thought that renting out a room in your house would create that much uproar? But it is, including in the insurance industry. How do we insure for this, right? So these are all fundamental shifts that are taking place. And so we now step into the conversation, which is how do we learn to create value in this digitally transformed future? We know we've kind of got to let go of the product model, but how do we step in and understand how to create value in the large for these people as we move from a product to a services orientation? So some of the questions that we ask ourselves all the time, and hopefully you will start to ask, is how will you create value for your customer from personal data and services related to those? You have to ask those questions today. And then in addition to that, when we start to couple that personal connection, that personal data, that stream of data that we leave behind us, our digital footprint every day, into these digital ecosystems, whether it's smart cities, smart cars, smart homes that we're part of, and we look at the outcomes that people want to achieve in their life, how do we bring those things together? How do we bridge our current thinking into this next generation, this transformative state, to bring value to them? And so these are fundamental questions I think every marketing person needs to be asking ourselves. We just talked about Uber, Airbnb. In our industry, there's another little company called Trove. So basically what Trove has recognized is these millennials really don't want to own big homes. They don't want to own cars, but they do have things that they buy that they care about. And so what they're doing is kind of reaching beyond the concept of insurance, and they're saying, okay, so you really don't want insurance, but you want to take care of these things. So how can we build an ecosystem around you to take care of that, that also takes care of a loss if it occurs, but also help basically mitigate the probability that you'd have that loss? And so they're doing micro-insurance. They're capturing at point of sale the thing that you bought, and they're automatically telling you what that value is and giving you options on insurance. A lot more examples of that, but those are kind of some outcome-based things.